miss the larger picture and the what really matters in order to kind of amplify what we feel will give us business. Uh, that as a policymaker, something like that concerns me, because while doing blockchain, while various other technologies, frontier technologies, I've seen that something which is not necessary or not the technology itself is being uh, positioned as something which is say blockchain or AI. So that is the first thing I would like to highlight, that we need to be very clear what we are talking about, what we are referring to. The second thing is about the technology itself. I have met people like, technology happened to me in 2018 when I was asked to, or 2017, late 2017, when I was asked to work in this area. Before that, I had absolutely no clue. So as a policy maker, I approached the subject, and for me it was, how do we adopt the policy in the policy arena, the frontier technologies. And when I talk about technology, it goes beyond AI. It's the entire bouquet of the technology comprising of the industrial revolution 4.0, as we call it today. And it includes everything, whether it is blockchain, whether it is machine learning, drones, IoT, etc. So there my focus was, how do we translate the technology into actual uh, projects on the field, which improves governance, which improves the life of the last mile. So with that approach, we had brought out the national strategy on AI in 2018, where we coined the term AI for all, on the lines of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, what our Honorable PM often said. So it was, how do we leverage AI uh, to help the people on the ground, the last mile. And there, the strategy does not really talk about um, too much about the technology, which is all in the annexure, but talks about the implementation part. And over years, I am of the firm belief that the development of the technology is the easier part. The adoption and implementation is much, much more difficult. Uh, so, with that, I will just give a few examples out of my experience working in Niti Aayog. Health was one of the the sectors which was identified as a sector where the government should take the lead, because we were of the belief that government should not crowd out private initiative, but some sectors which were typically kind of characterized by public good, we felt that there the government should be the leader, and health was one of them. We set up an expert committee under Dr. Vinod Paul, who is the member of dealing with health in Niti Aayog. And it comprised of several experts from hospitals, from academia, and also, startups and others who were the one of the layers for taking from lab to market kind of a thing. And the second thing which we did was to test some of the technologies which were touted to be AI driven and AI tools on the ground, to see what are the governance challenges. One of the successful projects which we did was on diabetic retinopathy. We did it in collaboration with PGI Chandigarh, and there four different platforms were tested. And I don't have the details presently, but I would request Parikshit to download it from the Niti website and share it with you. Out of the four, only one was found to be, close to something which can be rolled out. So that is the part of the technology, where how mature the technology is for using it on in a field situation. The second aspect is, how do we ensure that various issues are addressed in adoption of the technology. Here, again, it is about the, say, infrastructure. In diabetic retinopathy, we did it in two aspirational districts, one of them being Monga. And we were working in close collaboration with the district administration. So the first thing was the funders cameras. Should we buy new cameras? Should we use something which is available in the market? And there comes the important, intervention which Niti Aayog proposed at that stage, that where emerging technologies are concerned, instead of investing in expensive infrastructure, uh, like equipment and all, uh, you know, uh, a SaaS kind of a model is better, where the government does not spend on equipment which may become obsolete in a short time, but depends on the market players to provide that as a service delivery. So that is one of the important aspects which came out from our study about where government should invest. The second thing was on skilling. In the national strategy in AI, one of the cornerstones was overcoming access barrier. So with diversity and considerable access barrier, AI provided solution where you could reach out to the populace without stationing, resources, experts who do not, who are not either available or do not want to be positioned there. So that was one of the useful aspects of AI. But for this hub and spoke kind of a approach, skilling of ground staff emerged as the second important aspect which needs to be kept in mind for implementation of any new technology. So these were the two major policy aspects which came out, and we prepared models on it. And ICMR is presently trying to scale up a institutional framework which would be in place for any new technology to approach for a rollout at the ground level. Now, once you roll out at the ground level, there is obviously, it being a health sector being so critical, the gold standard was important. So the third part was any adoption of new technology necessarily needs to invest parallelly in getting data through the gold standard, for the gold standard, so that the validation can take place. So these were some of the insights which we drew. The next thing which I focused on at that time, actually I have transitioned out of technology. I no longer deal with technology in Niti, but I've worked with Parikshit and he requested me to share my experience, so I'm here today. So the next thing which I did at that time was address the data issue for AI. As we all know, data is critical. While some say that over time, technology will not require huge amounts of data to be there, but even today, data remains critical. And I worked with Tata Memorial Center, Mumbai, Cancer Research, for their RTEC project. And with them, we worked for getting a grant from the Department of Biotechnology. The grant proposal took more than 1.5 years. Uh, the grant money was slashed 50%. And for getting that, even I had to, at that time, CEO Niti Aayog had to intervene on several occasions. And we had a very proactive secretary in Renu Swarup, madam, uh, who actually changed the entire committee, the grant committee, which was considering the proposal, because the previous committee was not able to appreciate the AI proposal. So the new committee kind of cleared it. It took almost 1.5 years. Amount was slashed. That gave me the idea that, this kind of getting grants will not work. We need to be more outcome oriented. In my previous avatar, I have been a proponent of public private partnership. So I brought in those concepts, and a framework in collaboration with various ministries, including METI, Department of Economic Affairs, Health, DBT. With all of them, a framework was developed for uh, putting in place a medical imaging biobank. And this was to be done through PPP. It was to be done through a system integrator. Hospitals where government is already there were to contribute, because you cannot at this stage have hospitals say, okay, I'm giving you my data, what do I get in return? So that kind of a thing does not work at this stage. So a couple of hospitals were taken up. We started with cancer, and we realized that cancer would be a very, very difficult area. So then we moved to ophthalmology, and we worked with AIMS, Dr. Dada of AIMS, and Dr. Venkatesh of, I forget the name, from Aurobindo. It's in Puducherry. I don't remember the name of the hospital. They were our experts, and they committed to provide data. Of course, there were various other data privacy issues. So there, how do you share data? So a new concept which iSpirit had developed, where you do not necessarily need to share you know uh, the data per se, but you can share models which will help you do the analysis and run your models in similar fashion. So these were some of the things at which point I left technology. I'm sure that project must be proceeding and must be at a advanced stage. So that is how, because India today does not have good database. 360 degree of uh, patient data is not there. Unless we address these things, uh, training data models on Indian population remains a challenge. And with GDPR coming in, we have to ensure that the entire data journey is properly documented. Otherwise, any tool developed on a data which is suspect, no matter how it is obtained, will then in future create problems. So these were some of the areas which I think are relevant if we want to really leverage AI. And as one of the speakers said, diagnostic remains one of the major areas. But other than that, there are several other things which can be done with AI, predictive diagnostic, and various other aspects, drug discovery. So, sky's the limit. And when we came out with the strategy document, LLM was nowhere in the picture. Today LLM is one of the key players in the AI space. So how will LLM really change the ecosystem of this very emerging and disruptive technology would also need to be seen. With that, I would like to end my intervention, and would again apologize for the delay, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my views.
Thank you, ma'am. In fact, that is one thing I learned in the brief stint working with you, ma'am, that development is easy, deployment is hard. And that is the lesson we want to carry forward in our endeavor, ma'am. On behalf of Lieutenant General Narendra Kotwal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Sena Medal, and Vishisht Seva Medal, Director and Commandant FMC Pune, heartfelt thanks from all of us, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time and expertise for this session, ma'am. Thank you again, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
We will continue with the clinical discussion with Professor Rakesh Lodha, sir. Sir, the next thing, apart from the areas that you have already mentioned, is that let's come to the crux now, sir. If I offer you today an AI model, so what is the performance criteria you will want in that, sir? What are your demands as a clinician from it in terms of statistics, sensitivity, specificity, or whatever criteria you have in mind, sir?
Uh, So I think if you're looking at the diagnostic part, I guess one would be looking at the terminologies that you mentioned about, sensitivity, specificity, maybe positive predictive value, and maybe just has to evaluate, I think a lot actually depends on how you generate these studies which look at the accuracy. I think one of the common, I would say, deviations